I would like to say hello to Dr. Nareswari.
Yes.
I would like to introduce you for a second and would like to say thank you for working together in this program right now. And yeah, unfortunately, we thought about having the opportunity going to Indonesia in this October, but in reality, it's a pity that it is not possible. But more than that, we are interested to get informations about kampungs. I tried to explain the important situation of a kampung in Indonesia and in Asia in general, because kampungs exist in Singapore, they exist in Vietnam and in other Asian countries. So in a way that a kampung has a little bit to do with our European village in a certain kind. But we use in urban discussions sometimes a very strange meaning, because we say, yeah, this city has such a great quality, it's like living in a village. And that makes me always a little bit thinking about what is the quality of a village, what is the quality of a kampung. And so we hope that we get a lot of helpful information from you to understand the different meanings and the different possibilities of use of a kampung in a modern city and also in the past. So thank you for your participations, and at the end, when we have questions, we are allowed to ask.
Okay, you're welcome. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Nares, so I'm also a lecturer in Universitas Gadjah Mada, same with Pak Ika Putra and Isobu Dia in here. The presentation now is about the Indonesian urban settlement, problems and challenges of kampung in Yogyakarta. It's already mentioned before about kampung. While kampung has a very specific characteristic as a settlement, especially in the Asia, Southeast Asia, or another part in Asia. And the history of kampung in each city usually is different, really depend on the location of the city and also really depend on the development of the city. And in this occasion, I will tell about the kampung in Yogyakarta. I will start from the outline of the presentation. It will be talk about Yogyakarta, and then kampung as a urban support in Yogyakarta, distinct characteristic of kampung, and then kampung and its problems, policy to improve quality of kampung, and kampung and its challenge in the development of Yogyakarta, the city of Yogyakarta. We can see in here, this is the map of Indonesia. Indonesia is an island country, and there is 5 big islands in Indonesia, but we have very different density between one island and another. In here is the name of the island, and also the density. The biggest island is, I think.
Sorry, Miss Nareswari.
Yes.
We do not
Yes.
see your screen.
Oh.
Magdalena, do you see the screen? I see everything very well.
I see it very well, thank you.
Because I only see Miss Nareswari directly, but okay, I will change. It's okay.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Okay, is it okay? Can I continue? Okay, no problem. Yes. This is Indonesia, and we see this is Java Island. Java Island is the most dense islands in Indonesia. This is around 1,149 people per square kilometers. And the other island is very rare, not really dense. So this is very we can say that Java Island is very dense compared to other island in Indonesia. And that's why the development in Java is also running fast compared to other island. Also, the increasing number of the population is also running faster rather than other islands. And this is Java Island. In Java, there is some big cities. We all know Jakarta, and then Bandung, Semarang, Surabaya, and Yogyakarta. We can say Yogyakarta is the fifth cities in Java. If we see from the number of the population, but the population is really different compared to other four cities because Yogyakarta is less number. The number of population is not that much. So we can say that compared to other big cities, Yogyakarta is a middle cities in Java. But the number of population in Yogyakarta is always increased because Yogyakarta has a specific function in Indonesia as a city of education, city of culture with the heritage, and then city of tourism destination. So that's why the function and also the population in Yogyakarta is increasing. This is the number of population right now. This is in the city of Yogyakarta, and the density is around 13,000 people per square meter. The increasing of density is 3.8% in each years. And there are many temporary residents. Why there are many temporary residents? Because in Yogyakarta there are many schools, universities. That's why many students from all over Indonesia stay and come and stay to Yogyakarta to study, and after that going back to their own city. So that's why it's many temporary resident in Yogyakarta. This is also because Yogyakarta is one of the tourism destination object that's really popular in Indonesia. So that's why many people come and go in Yogyakarta. And if we see how is the condition in Yogyakarta, we can see this is the province of Yogyakarta, and the city center actually is just a small part in the middle of the province. And this is the city center. The city center mostly have an activity on heritage objects and also trade and tourism, of course, in the near the city center. So that's why the activity in here is more dense rather than another area in the city. That's why people also want to live around the activity center, because they want to get a job from the activity in the city center. So that's also why many kampung, many settlement spontaneously increase in this area. We can say that there are many kind of urban settlements type in Yogyakarta. The first type is, we can say, heritage settlement. That's the settlements that already exist since a long time ago. The first heritage settlement are related to the palace. We can say there are many noble houses, and also Magresari. Magresari is settlement around the noble houses, which inhabited by the servant of the noble houses or the palace. And also the soldiers, kampung of soldiers. And also there are many colonial settlements, settlements that exist since the Netherlands, the Dutch, colonized in Indonesia. And then also many ethnic kampung, because because the Sultan in that time have a policy that people outside Yogyakarta have to stay in a distinct location. So people from China and also Arabian, they have their own kampung. And we can say it still exists up to now, especially the Chinese kampung is still developed right now. There are also kampung with specific function. This is by the development of the city. There is kampung with specific function. For example, kampung that developed because of the tourism activity. There are many kampung has a specific function as an accommodation kampung for backpackers, for example, or maybe kampung that have a specific handicraft made, for example, batiks or other handicraft that people also have a guest house there. So it's really developed as a tourism activity kampungs. Also, we can say there are many houses, of course, houses along the street. Even right now, the number is decreasing, because usually along the street is become a commercial district after that. And in here, I mentioned about the settlement in the riverside and also settlement along the railway. We can say this is the informal settlement that really developed in the middle city of Yogyakarta. Usually the kampung is support the activity in city center, the trade activity or the tourism activity or the cultural heritage activity. We also will discuss about the characteristic of the kampung, the physical characteristic and also the social economic characteristic. We can say here in the kampung, usually we will find also some becak, we can say rickshaw, because the rickshaw driver usually also inhabit in the kampung. Also, we will see the settlement along the river that have a specific topography, because many houses built not in the flatland but in the river banks. We also can see the settlement along the street. Some houses are using traditional style, usually using traditional style. Well, but right now, as we can say, as a vernacular houses using specific materials, not just concrete, but also wood and also bamboo as a material. And here we can say Kampung as an urban support. The location, this is the city of Yogyakarta, and then this is the palace area. We can see here, this is the main activity of city center. We say it Malioboro Commercial District, while become a magnet for many people, not just people from Yogyakarta, but also people outside Yogyakarta to come to Malioboro district. It's very famous tourism object in Yogyakarta, Malioboro, and also the palace. So that's why it's many people also can get advantage from that, become a seller and so on. So that's why many people also wants to live around this area, and many people live in this area along the river. This is the 3 rivers that go through the city of Yogyakarta, and along the river is many settlement. Usually we can say this settlement is at the first time is as a informal settlement, because they built their house in the river bank, and they started from the very small house, and then it can be become larger and also higher, because some houses are maybe not just 1-story houses, but 2 or 3-story houses. So this settlement usually is not just along the river, but also along the railway. So this is the railway. This is the railway near the Malioboro district, and then along the railway is also some settlement. But right now, with the new regulation from the railway station, some settlement are relocated to outside the area, but it also still near the original land before, because it's near to their job. And the informal settlement, they have a contribution to the city, at least because they support the activity in the city center. And we can say that it become a self-provided local houses in Yogyakarta, because not all houses could be provided by the government. It's not enough. It's really small part houses. Just around 20% houses is provided by the government, and around 80% is provided by the people. Some are provided legally and some provided illegally, but it's occurred in Yogyakarta. Okay, we can see here, this is the kampung with a specific purpose. As we can see here, it's many signs we can see that this is the kampung is already become accommodation for tourism, for tourists, accommodation for tourists, and they support the tourism activity in Yogyakarta. And another kampung is also famous. For example, in here is Kampung Kauman, is famous as one of the heritage kampung in the city center. They have a specific housing layout, specific settlement, has a very narrow alley, so that's why people couldn't park their car here. They have to park in outside the kampung. So it's just using a bicycle and also motorcycle to go through their house in this very small alley. So this is one example of the kampung with a specific purpose. Okay, and we will go to the distinct characteristic of kampung. We know that the distinct characteristic, we can divide it into the physical characteristic and also socioeconomic characteristic. We can say that the physical characteristic is really different between one kampung and another. It's depend on the location, depend on the settlement, and also depend on the houses. The location we can say the kampung with the kampung that located near along the river, for example, it's very different, of course, with the kampung that located near the street from the characteristic, because the land, the topography is very different, and also the vulnerability, because the kampung along the river, it has we can say yearly hazard. That's the hazard is of course flooding. So during the rainy season, usually people along the river always aware about the flooding, and also not just yearly flooding, but also they have to concern about the eruption. The last eruption of Merapi in 2010, it made a very bad damage for the people along the river in Yogyakarta, but it's already revived now, the condition. So they go back to the settlement along the river. So if they have a suffer condition in that time, but now they recover. And also the settlement, it's very different between one settlement and another, depend on the accessibility. It's many settlement that have a very good accessibility, but some still have a poor accessibility. And also the houses. Some houses is already using a permanent material. Permanent material is concrete, and also another brick, and also brick. But some area is still using semi-permanent material, such as bamboo. Even they just use it in not in all part of the houses. The size of the houses is also very different. The size of the houses that really near to the river usually is very small size, but they still can say that this is their house and they can live there. The specific socioeconomic for the people who living in the kampung, some of them are working in the informal sector job. The informal sector job is probably can be in the trade or service or manufacturer or transport, and they have a daily income. unfixed salary, and the community is really cohesive. From one kampung, we can see that they really attach one and another. So sometimes they feel that their family is also their neighbor, not just the family in one house, but also in one kampung. This is, we can see here, the picture of the kampung along the river. In the up picture, we can see the left side. The left side is walk-up flat public housing provided by the government, and people can rent the units. And the right side is the self-provided houses built by the people. And of course, they built it increasingly, so it's from small part and become bigger and also higher. In the left side, how is the scenery in the kampung? We can see that it's still it's still some greenery, but it's already also some built access built pedestrian. Not just before, it's the pedestrian is just land like this, and this is bamboo. Bamboo tree is before the development of the Kampung Improvement Program. Along the river, there are always bamboo tree. But after the program, the improvement program, for example, the program of the development of this dike, so the number of the bamboo tree is, of course, declining. There are now is just a very few number of bamboo tree along the rivers. This is also the characteristic of the kampung. We can see usually they are just one-story houses, but some houses we can see this is already around 4-story houses. But the form of the houses is, of course, we can say very unique, because the form of the land is also just this shape. So they just built the houses 4-story using the form of the land that available in here. This is the houses, and this is the houses they usually make a second or a third story if they feel need to improve the size of the houses. This is the public building in the kampung along the river. The public building we can see in here in the first floor, it still become a circulation area, but in the second floor we can use it as a community library in here, and also meeting room, meeting space for the community who will have a meeting in here, because the size of the houses around this kampung is very small houses, so people couldn't meet there is no room to have a meeting, so they create room in here in the second floor using a bamboo structure. This is the activity we can see in here, how they also using, we can say it's public domain as a private activity, for example, for This is the veranda to have to become a living room, or maybe to become a kitchen, or also to become a motorcycle parking, and so on. They made it as a semi-permanent structure in the alley. So the space that already here, and they use it as a domestic purpose. So this is one of the phenomena that it's very famous in Kampung, while the public domain is also a private domain, and also vice versa. Sometimes private domain is also become a public domain because they feel that the community is also their family. This is the building in the Kampung. This is we can see it as a night guard. Night guard in here, it's made from concrete, and this one is made from bamboo. During the night, it's some people will have a shift to become a night guard in the Kampung. But during the day, it's many activity here because the kids can also play around in this building, and also usually mothers have a chatting time with their neighbors, and also in these buildings. And also another buildings that we found in the Kampung usually is a warung. This is a warung, is a small shop, we can say, small shop in here. People also make a small shop in a part of their house. So they really have a really compact kampung in this area, because we can find everything just in the kampung. This is the access in the kampung. Sometimes it's flat, but sometimes it's have a topography. They also usually using just land to have an alley, and sometimes they use it as a sport activity in here. So it's a multifunction area in this area. And people also still make a greenery along the very narrow alley. Okay, and we will see how is the kampung and its problems. The problems we can see here, the first is about the density, because the number of the people, the number of the buildings is also increased. People is increased, and the number of buildings is increased. So kampung become more dense. And also about the facility, because there is not, of course, there is almost none facility that been planned. So everything is just as a reaction from the need of the people. For example, the electricity, the water, the access is not well planned. Of course, it's not well planned because it's just spontaneously provided after the people need it. Of course, because of that condition, so the quality of everything is not really good. The clean water, and also the sanitation, and also the electricity, the quality of the houses, the structure, the material is also not in a good condition. And the other is about the vulnerability, because in some location, the location of the houses is in the marginal land, so that's why it's many hazard that happen in this area, such as a landslide, and then also flooding and the debris from the eruption of the volcano. Yeah, this is after the eruption of Merapi in 2010. Even the area is located more than 30 kilometers from the top of Merapi, but because of the big eruption, so the debris, the sand, and so on, the stone, of course, is still come into this area, into the city center. So at the first, almost a half of the houses covered by the sand. This is what happened after the eruption in 2010. And this is because of the flooding. So people have to add specific elements to cover the door, because they don't have, of course, they don't have enough money to make better houses or safer houses. So they can just put this element to hide from the flood. This is the condition usually inside the house. Usually the room is multi-function room, as a living room, and then also as a dining room, as a bedroom. It's become in one place. For the bathroom or toilet, usually they use a public toilet in this area. Okay, because of the quality of the kampung, so of course government have a policy to improve the quality of the kampung. From the history, we can say we can divide it, the program into three programs. We can classify it into three programs. The first is about self-help housing policy, and the second is public housing development, and the third is pro-subsidized housing policy. The second and the third is implemented, of course, have an we can say have a very different, very difficult to implement, because the second and the third we have to relocate from the location of the original informal housing. So just the first program, that people can still settle in their own houses, but the second and the third program we have to relocate to the housing provided by the government. So this is the we can see here. This is the first program, the self-help housing program. From the history, the first program is Kampung Improvement Program. It started around 1970s. The program, the Kampung Improvement Program, is usually develop the infrastructure for the kampung. For example, the public toilets, and then the street, the alley, and then the drainage, the clean water, and also the embankment. So after the Kampung Improvement Program, the government have a new KIP, new Kampung Improvement Program. The new program is combined not just a physical program, but also community empowerment program. So we can say this is the three purpose program. The first is the physical improvement, and then environment improvement, and community improvement. We say that as a new KIP, a new Kampung Improvement Program. The the third program is community-based housing development. This is the housing development that based on the community activity. So community can have a group and then have a proposal to develop their own community. Included the development of infrastructure, element of houses, and also the public buildings, small public buildings such as a meeting room, library, and so on. And the third is self-help housing assistance. So this is assistance for the people. The assistance could be financial assistance or material assistance to improve the houses. This is the self-help. And then this is the relocation program. The relocation program, we can say that for relocation, government have two options. The first is already exists since many decades, that people move to public housing in the fringe area of Yogyakarta. It's already exists probably more than 30 years ago. So people move to the fringe. And the other action, this is exists around a decade ago, is people still stay near the location, but they stay in the walk-up flat or vertical housing, mid-rise building. We call this area. We call this building is rumah susun or walk-up flat. So it's around 4 or 5 story houses provided by the government, and people can rent the unit in here. Yeah. Up to now, there are three public houses, 3 walk-up flats in the city center, in the area of city center. This is in the dense community. This is been built in the dense community of riverside settlements right now. But the program is not really running well, because up to now it's just 3 buildings. Actually, government wants to build more, but there are not available land to build the houses, to build the walk-up flat. Actually in Yogyakarta, the build of the walk-up flat is really late compared to other city in Java Island, because in Jakarta is already started 30 years ago. Also in Surabaya and also in Semarang, it's already exists in Jakarta, Surabaya, and Semarang. But in Yogyakarta it's just still around a decade ago, and the development is right now also very difficult because the availability of the land. This is the situation in the walk-up flat. We can see in here, this is the activity of the people before. They have birds and also chicken in the kampung. So after they stay in the walk-up flat, they couldn't bring their birds and chicken. So that's why it's many informal collective for birds cage and also chicken cage nearby the walk-up flat. And it's become bigger and bigger because it's many people also wants to have birds and chicken like they have it before. This is the activity with the kids. There's no space to play for them, so they just play in the corridor or near the stairway, and it's very dangerous because the handrail and so on, it's they made it for adults, not for the kids. This is the activity behind the walk-up flat. We can see how is the interaction between the walk-up flat and the original. This is the original houses before. So actually people in here is also the neighbor of the people in here originally. And after that, they still living nearly side by side in here between people who living in the walk-up flat, public housing, and also in the original houses, the original kampung. So the interaction, there is no boundary, there is no fence, so they still have interaction in here, physical interaction. Okay, we can see in here kampung and its challenge. There is internal potency. We can see from the internal potency of the kampung and the innovative policy that could be applied by the government. From the internal potency, we can say that people in the kampung have a creativity in using the space. They have a very small space, but they can create it as houses. And then they have a very small alley, but they can use it for the greenery, for the productive plants, and so on. So they are very specific. And then they also self-managed community. So their cohesiveness in the community is make them easy to organize something, and could be a manageable community in their own way, we can see here. And they also have a potential to survive and sustain after the hazard, after the disaster, or after the another activity that can make them maybe not in a good condition, but after that they recover from the condition. They can survive and also sustain. And for the policy, we see that the government couldn't just implement one single policy, for example, relocate them or make another single big program. So it's better if the government have a mixed program, so many activity there. And of course, it's we have to see the characteristic from each kampung. And also the financial regulation about the program. So sometimes the government have a regulation that not match with the financial condition of the people in the kampung. For example, they are daily workers, have a daily salary, so it's different with the people who has a monthly or yearly income. So it's very different. Yeah, And the condition of utility and sanitation of the settlement is also have to become the first priority of concern, because for the quality of the houses, the people can provide it by themselves, but for utility and sanitation, it has to be a settlement size program, not just a single building program. Okay, I think that's the presentation this evening, this afternoon. Thank you for the time.